When it comes to Batman fans, I think there are two camps. Those that adore Batman and the wider Bat family, and those that prefer their Caped Crusader to be a lone vigilante. I fall into the latter camp, sorry Batmite. However, I have to caveat that statement by saying that I prefer solo Batman stories with Alfred. For everyone that says the sidekicks like Robin add some brightness and levity to Batman stories that prevent him from becoming a dangerous, deranged sadist, I'd argue that Alfred fulfills that same role. These days, most people probably think of Michael Caine's performance as Alfred Pennyworth in Christopher Nolan's movies. Maybe some people think of Sean Pertwee from Gotham, but for me, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.'s Alfred from Batman the Animated Series is the first to come to mind, even before the comic book version. This Alfred is no mere servant or employee. He is Batman's father, and he's been there for him his entire life, keeping him honest with sass, sarcasm and wit. But before we get to BTAS's Alfred, let's talk about the inspiration for the character, his comic book counterpart. Alfred was originally known as Alfred Beagle, and his appearance was quite different. A portly, clumsy man that was the butt of all jokes. He wasn't a key part of Batman's team. In fact, he was a recent hire who stumbled upon Batman's secret and thought of himself as being something of a detective. If anything, he was a hindrance. Following the success of the movie serials in which actor William Austin played Alfred, Mr. Beagle was redesigned to more resemble the actor. They explained this away by saying he'd been sent away to a health resort where he did a lot of exercise. Decades later, Alfred was renamed Alfred Pennyworth, and eventually reimagined as the Wayne family butler, who had been by Batman's side his entire life. He was less of a comical figure and more of a valued team member, offering advice, patching up wounds, and someone to discuss cases with. Alfred's backstory was also expanded, showing his time as a spy during World War II, supporting the French resistance. Along the way, he had a romance with a resistance fighter who bore his daughter Julia without his knowledge. Julia would grow up to be raised by a stepfather, although in Alfred's defense, he didn't know that she existed and felt great shame when he learned of her. It's ironic that he would spend most of his life looking after the orphaned Bruce Wayne, while his own flesh and blood was raised by somebody else. Julia became one of the regular supporting cast members vying for Batman and Bruce Wayne's affections, although she would be erased from existence following Crisis on Infinite Earths, when most of DC's continuity was reset. In the post-Crisis comics, the role of the Wayne family butler had been fulfilled by Alfred's father, and upon his passing, Alfred took over. To him, it started as an obligation, but it became something he wanted to do. Alfred retained most of his key character traits, the supportive and skilled confidant that had been a former soldier and actor that had raised Bruce Wayne following his parents' murder. He wasn't the butt of jokes, he was an essential part of Batman's crusade. And that brings us to Batman the Animated Series. Now there, Alfred is a pretty faithful adaptation, although he is significantly more sarcastic than his comic book counterpart. In his first appearance in the pilot episode, On Leather Wings, almost all of his lines are some sort of quip, and he actually makes Batman smile. And that's an important point. He humanizes Batman. He's someone he can talk to about his cases, his concerns, or his worries, and someone that can ground him by making fun of him. That's not to say that he bullies Batman, far from it. It's playful mockery. These little moments of humour are designed to break the tension and prevent these otherwise dark stories from becoming too dour. A great example of this is the scene in Mask of the Phantasm, when Alfred tells Batman that Councilman Arthur Reeves is wrong about him being a murderous madman. He's the very model of sanity. And then proceeds to explain that he has put away his arsenal of exploding gas balls. Very droll. This version of Alfred serves another purpose though. He's Batman's surrogate father. One thing I always note about Alfred is that when he calls Batman Master Bruce, he's not referring to him in a master-servant sense. No, it's the formal title, Master. This is an antiquated title that refers to males under 18. This shows us that Alfred views Bruce as that same sad lost little boy, whatever his age. One of the things that distinguishes BTAS Alfred from the other versions is the fact that, as Bruce Wayne's guardian, he joined him on his international quest of self-improvement. Alfred reminisces about the time the two spent in Japan while Bruce was learning martial arts and came into conflict with Kyodai Ken for the first time. In the comics, Bruce Wayne's journey to becoming Batman was a lonely one as he travelled the world alone. This is a key point to show why the BTAS Batman is generally a lot warmer than other versions of the character. Despite losing his parents, he was never truly alone. That's not to say that the other versions of Batman aren't compassionate. But what I am saying is that BTAS's Batman is the most compassionate, and I think Alfred is partially responsible for that. He became Bruce's sole parent following the Wayne's murder, after all. A lot of this can be attributed to the performance of actor Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., who took on the role of Alfred early on in the series after the original actor Clive Reville left the show for another gig. Note that Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. had a lengthy career in some beloved shows like 77 Sunset Strip and the FBI. But during an interview that has been published in the second volume of Batman the Animated Interviews, an essential resource for anyone as obsessed with BTAS as I am, he stated that he received the most letters from fans about his role as Alfred. It was very clearly a special role to him that resonated with the audience. Chronologically, much of the film Mask of the Phantasm takes place in the lead up to Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, and it's interesting to note that while Alfred is supportive of Bruce's mission, he would much rather see him settle down with Andrea and live a normal life. When Bruce agrees to meet Andrea's father, the next step in their relationship, Bruce says to Alfred that he has no idea what he's doing and that he must be going nuts. Alfred retorts, "Quite the opposite, sir," with a big smile on his face. And that makes the scene where Alfred reveals that Andrea has left Bruce all the more painful, not just for Bruce but for Alfred too. They had been set to get married and Bruce was going to put the whole vigilante thing behind him, but fate intervened. You can see from Alfred's expression that he knows exactly what has happened when he found the engagement ring box left at the door. This isn't just the end of a relationship, it's the end of Bruce's chance for living a normal life. Most of us are capable of moving on from a bad breakup, eventually. But for Bruce, it is different. An indeterminable amount of time later, it could be weeks, could even be years, we see Alfred standing with Bruce in the makeshift Batcave deep beneath Wayne Manor as he hands Bruce his cowl. Bruce pauses for a moment, with one last chance to reconsider the course of his life, but then embraces his destiny by donning the cowl. And Alfred gasps in horror, not because he's scared of Batman, but because any chance of normality that Bruce had is now gone. This is his life now, and Alfred is horrified by it. That's not the reaction of a mere servant or an employee, that's the reaction of a father. Bruce's transformation frightens and appalls Alfred. Now, one early episode does slightly contradict the notion of Alfred being Batman's father figure, and that's the Underdwellers, in which Batman faces off with the villainous Sewer King. This sewer-dwelling creep amassed an army of orphaned children to do his bidding, a bit like Fagin from Oliver Twist. Batman rescues one of the children, named Frog, and takes him back to Wayne Manor, where Alfred is to care for him. Alfred is initially taken aback, claiming he has no experience raising children. He's far too modest. He has raised Batman and Dick Grayson, no doubt. Sure, he's out of practice, but he should be able to manage one child temporarily. However, Frog is an absolute menace who runs rings around Alfred, making a mess and helping himself to the Wayne family silver. Seeing Alfred running around after Frog trying to rein him in is genuinely amusing, and probably the highlight of this generally poor episode. So why did this contradiction take place? Well, it was early on in the series run, back when they were trying to get episodes into production during the tumultuous early days. The creative team has been very open about how some of these early scripts weren't perfect, but they had to get some episodes made. These things happen when you have tight deadlines. Later stories made it abundantly clear that Alfred raised Bruce. For example, going back to Mask of the Phantasm, Alfred references changing Batman's diapers when he was a baby. Aside from Batman, Alfred is the character that appeared in the most episodes of BTAS, but there are only a handful where he had a prominent role. Eternal Youth is the first one to focus on Alfred and introduces his girlfriend Maggie Page. The episode's director, Kevin Altieri, noted that Maggie was introduced to stop people from making derogatory remarks about Alfred's sexuality, based on the fact that he's a single man with a plummy English accent. However, outside of this episode, Maggie isn't seen again. But it was nice to get a brief glimpse into Alfred's life outside of Wayne Manor. Given that Maggie jogged up to the manor and drives an expensive sports car, she's likely a woman of means that may live nearby. When she and Alfred visit a new exclusive health resort, one that is secretly run by Poison Ivy to trap the heads of the top polluting companies, Alfred and Maggie are endangered. This episode shows how important Alfred is to Batman. Firstly, when Alfred comes home and collapses after drinking more of Ivy's tonic. Batman drops everything to help Alfred. When Batman examines the spa's tonic and learns that it turns human cells into plant matter, he panics, running up into Wayne Manor, screaming Alfred's name in his costume in broad daylight. Hopefully the window cleaners weren't working that day. Secondly, when Alfred and Maggie return to the spa and are turned into terrifying trees, you can see the shock and anger on Batman's face. Ivy had no way of knowing this, but she had just made this very personal by targeting Alfred and Maggie. The much later episode The Lion and the Unicorn gives us further insight into Alfred's backstory. Alfred had formerly been part of Britain's secret services, and was one of 2 people responsible for keeping the launch codes for nuclear missiles secret. Alfred had one half of the code, while his colleague Frederick, do not call him Freddy, knew the other. When Frederick was kidnapped by the generic terrorist Red Claw, see my video about her for more details on her motivations, or the lack of them, Alfred rushed back to England to try and help him, which led to his own capture and got Batman involved. They didn't really delve into Alfred's personal life in any other meaningful way, but it was clear that he had lived a life before working for the Waynes. They make no reference to any secret children, no abandoned family members, no giving up his own dreams to fulfill familial obligations. No. He was a proud dad who would do anything and everything for his son, even if they weren't related by blood. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my current channel members, who are all listed on the screen right now. Next time it'll be the space year 2025, and what better way to mark the new year than to talk about one of the villains from Batman Beyond. Yeah, okay, that was a bit of a laboured point, but that's what I'm doing. He came second in my most recent Batman Beyond villain poll, so we're going to be talking about Payback. Hope to see you then.